There is an area in the Pacific Palisades where the road leads out of the neighborhood. It goes down the hill, and there were people who were desperately trying to flee.
We're having to walk. This is crazy.
The flames were coming down the hill.
We got it, Dad, we got it.
And they just had to make this decision. Like you see in a disaster movie, they left their cars in the road. And you can only think, thank goodness they did, because we went back a few days after that and we got to see those cars and they were completely burned out. I'm Phil Lavelle, a correspondent, and between us, covering the Los Angeles wildfire has been a heartbreaking personal journey as well as a work assignment. One of the things that really hit home covering these fires is just how close some people came to losing their homes and they were just spared. You know, you'll look at a house that is completely burned away, and yet within just a metre, even closer, you'll find flowers that are still growing out of the ground, or you'll see a tree that is still bearing fruit. These flames were so indiscriminate, and so many people lost everything. A lot of people are in shelters, but there is just so much disorganization and uncertainty. You know, people are trying to get through hour by hour, day by day. There's a shortage of housing in Los Angeles already, and all of the Airbnbs are full, and a lot of people are still not allowed in their homes. Even though the fires don't seem like they're anywhere near, they're still in these evacuation zones, so they're not allowed to go home. We were reporting a few days after the Eaton fire broke out from a donation centre that sprang up in a car park in a racetrack in a place called Santa Anita. And this started out as a very small site, and by the power of social media and the word of mouth and television, all of a sudden it got enormous in size. I mean, there were so many people, thousands of people turning up with everything. And it was a remarkable example of just how communities come together.
I just wanted to feel like I was helping.
Let's go help. We have to, because we could easily be the next victims.
I took a helicopter ride over the Palesades fire area, and it was just awful to see. You know, this is an area that I lived in for many years. I got married here, my kids grew up here, and all of these places that we spent as a family, many of them have gone. They've burned away, and all you can look at are photographs and videos on your phone and think, my goodness, you know, you can just appreciate what has been lost. It is absolutely devastating.
They probably don't have money for rent.
We got talking to one man called Jose. He lived in Altadena. That is the area that was decimated by the Eaton fire. He lived there with his wife, his children, his pets. His house burnt down. It had gone from being a family home that he'd lived in for 25 years to being absolutely destroyed. And he just stood there and he just broke down. He said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And you know, as journalists, you often manage to detach yourselves just in the moment while you're speaking to people. But in that moment, I started to tear up. My producer, my photographer, the three of us, when he walked away, we were just so heartbroken for him. People are absolutely so appreciative of the fire service and everything they're doing. There are questions that are being asked, particularly at a political level, about budget cuts and whether or not this could have been prevented. And there's also a lot of disinformation, particularly on social media. And there is anger, particularly from people who have lost everything. But ultimately, this was also a freak weather event. No amount of firefighters, unless you were to have had 10 million, one on every single ember, could have stopped this from spreading. Climate change is definitely having a major impact on California, and that is affecting how people live. And tragically and sadly, it means that these wildfires are just getting worse and worse. The question is, though, for a lot of people, is why it happened in the first place. Was there stuff that could have at least mitigated that? And that is something that the politicians are going to be held to account for over the coming weeks, months, and years.